The history of human intimacy is the history of a monopoly. For millennia, the distribution of romantic intimacy, validation, and reproductive access has been controlled by a single biological supply chain: women. This is not a moral judgment, nor is it a grievance. It is a cold socioeconomic reality defined by the principles of scarcity and supply. In the marketplace of human relationships, women have historically functioned as the gatekeepers of intimacy, while men have functioned as the buyers trading resources, commitment, and protection for access. This dynamic, formalized in 2004 by researchers Baumeister and Voss as sexual economics theory, has governed the rise and fall of civilizations, the structure of the nuclear family, and the trajectory of male ambition. However, monopolies do not last forever. They persist only as long as the barrier to entry remains insurmountable and the commodity remains non-substitutable. For 200,000 years of human history, there was no substitute for a human female partner. If a man wanted physical gratification, emotional intimacy, or the social status of companionship, he had to negotiate with the gatekeepers on their terms. The biological reality that genetic material is cheap for one side and expensive for the other created an evolutionary leverage that civilization codified into marriage, courtship, and chivalry. Today, we stand at the precipice of a species-altering disruption. The dating market, distorted by technology, hyperinflated standards, and economic disenfranchisement, has reached a breaking point. An intimacy recession has gripped the developed world, with male loneliness reaching epidemic proportions. But just as the market seems broken beyond repair, a correction has arrived. It is not political and it is not legislative. It is technological. Artificial intelligence and robotics represent the first true supply shock to the mating marketplace in human history. By creating synthetic partners, entities that can listen, respond, visualize, and eventually physically interact with indistinguishable realism, AI is poised to flood the market with a substitute good of infinite supply and near-zero marginal cost. This documentary argues that the era of the intimacy monopoly is ending. We are witnessing the dawn of the Great Equalizer, a technological event that will crash the inflated value of romantic gatekeeping, democratize intimacy for the market exiles, and force a radical renegotiation of the social contract between men and women. Section 1. The Monopoly: How We Got Here. To understand the magnitude of the coming disruption, one must first audit the current state of the marketplace. The modern dating landscape is not merely difficult for the average man, it is a market failure. Through the lens of economics, we observe a system characterized by extreme inequality, rampant inflation of asking prices, and the cartel-like consolidation of romantic capital. The breakdown of the traditional contract has left a vast swath of the male population alienated, creating a vacuum that technology is rushing to fill. The theory of sexual economics and gatekeeping. The theoretical framework for this analysis is grounded in the rigorous work of Roy Baumeister and Kathleen Voss, who posited in their seminal 2004 paper, Sexual Economics: Sex as Female Resource for Social Exchange in Heterosexual Interactions, that intimacy functions as a resource that women have and men want. In this economic model, women are the suppliers, sellers, and men are the consumers, buyers. The power in this exchange is derived entirely from the principle of gatekeeping. As the researchers note, the supplier has the power to accept or refuse access, effectively setting the price of admission into a relationship. The cost for this isn't usually cash, it's investments, commitment, emotional work, social standing, and financial support. It's an unspoken but solid deal. A man offers security or resources, and in exchange he gets access to a woman's reproductive and intimate side. This setup is based on parental investment theory, which suggests that the gender that invests more biological effort into offspring will be the pickier one. This creates an uneven playing field. Since men are biologically wired for variety and short-term pairing, they aren't the ones setting the rules. They are price takers, not price makers. Men cannot effectively restrict supply because the market demand for male intimacy is significantly lower than for female intimacy. So, when women feel left out socially or want to reconnect, they can use short-term flings to reestablish a link, a move that's pretty much off the table for men. Historically, this asymmetry was managed through social institutions like marriage, which enforced a form of regulatory cap on the market. Monogamy acted as an antitrust law, ensuring that high-status men could not hoard all the reproductive partners, thereby leaving average men with a chance to compete. However, the digitization of dating apps has deregulated this market. The result has not been equality, but the formation of a winner-takes-all economy where the gatekeeping power of the supplier has been amplified by technology, while the purchasing power of the average male consumer has collapsed. The inflation of standards, the 666 regime. In any economy, when the supply of a desirable good is restricted or perceived to be high status, the cost to acquire it rises. In the modern dating market, this inflation is best exemplified by the crystallization of the 666 rule. This cultural phenomenon dictates a new baseline requirement for a desirable male partner. The criteria are brutal in their specificity. A man must be 6 feet tall, possess a six-pack physique, and earn at least 6 figures. These standards act as a triple filter that mathematically excludes the vast majority of the male population. Height. The requirement for a man to be 6 feet tall immediately disqualifies approximately 85% of the male population. Physique. The demand for six-pack abs requires a level of physical fitness and low body fat that is attainable only by a small fraction of men who have the leisure time, nutritional resources, and genetic predisposition to maintain such a physique. Income. The six-figure income threshold, $100,000+ excludes roughly 80 to 90% of individual earners, depending on age and geography. Despite claims that high dating standards are rage bait, app data confirms soaring expectations. The viral 666 benchmark shows that average is now considered a failure, as women with abundant options frequently reject men not meeting these criteria, often regardless of other qualities. While framed as women knowing their worth, this economically acts as a price floor, excluding most men who are then dismissed for loneliness based on character flaws rather than the structural reality of being priced out. The 666 rule signals a hyperinflated dating market where the value of the average man has been severely devalued. The Tinder Gini Coefficient, inequality worse than apartheid. The clearest sign that the dating market is totally messed up comes from checking out the stats on dating app likes, which basically function as the money of digital attraction. Data scientists and researchers have used the Gini coefficient, the standard way economists measure income inequality, to look at the Tinder economy. The Gini score goes from 0, everyone's equal, to 1, total inequality. The Gini coefficient for the Tinder economy is 0.58, which means the inequality in the dating market is greater than in 95.1% of all national economies. It's similar to countries with extreme wealth gaps like South Africa and Haiti. In other words, the bottom 80% of guys are all fighting for the attention of the bottom 22% of women. That means the vast majority of men are competing over a tiny sliver of the female population. On the flip side, the top 78% of women are competing for the top 20% of men. This sets up a harem situation where a small group of high-status guys gets access to most women, leaving the average guy with practically zero chance. The average man is liked by only about 0.87% of women. That's less than 1 out of 115.5 for an average man. To get even one match, he has to be swiped right on by over 100 women, which is so unlikely that it leads to massive frustration and feeling completely dejected. This is the very definition of a broken market. The old 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, has blown up into a 95-5 reality for a lot of people. The end result is a huge group of lonely, sexually sidelined men who have effectively been priced out of the market. These men aren't part of a grievance-based ideology that blames society or women for intimacy exclusion. They're market exiles. They're ready to participate in a market that just won't let them in. The anger that this inequality creates is often dismissed as just being entitled, but structurally, it signals a complete breakdown of the social agreement that used to ensure a reasonably fair distribution of partners. The subscription economy, a tax on loneliness. Since a market hates an empty space, it has created a temporary fix. Monetizing parasocial interaction. If men cannot acquire genuine intimacy, they will pay for the simulation of it. This has given rise to the subscription economy. You know the platforms I am talking about. A massive wealth transfer where romantic resources are broken down and sold off in pieces. The scale of this market is immense, generating over $5.6 billion annually and empowers over 3.5 million creators. The platform takes a 20% commission, leaving 80% for the creators, creating a lucrative income stream for women who can capitalize on their gatekeeper status in the digital realm. However, the product being sold is fundamentally different from traditional adult media. It is digital intimacy. Creators engage in the girlfriend experience, utilizing direct messages, custom requests, and pay-per-view content to create the illusion of a relationship. Men are not paying merely to see nudity, they are paying to feel seen. They are paying for a simulacrum of connection that is denied to them in the physical world. The male loneliness epidemic and the intimacy recession. The downstream effects of this market failure are catastrophic for social cohesion and individual mental health. We are currently living through an intimacy recession, a term coined to describe the precipitous drop in frequency and partnership rates across the developed world. The statistics paint a bleak picture of modern masculinity. In 2021, over 25% of American men over 18 hadn't had physical relations in the past year, a 30-year high. This is not a voluntary celibacy for religious reasons. It is an involuntary exclusion from a core human experience. The isolation is not just sexual, it is social. The male loneliness epidemic is real and quantifiable. The number of men reporting they have no close friends quintupled to 15% between 1990 and 2021. For unmarried men under 30, that number is even higher at 25%. Men are increasingly isolated, lacking both romantic partners and platonic support networks. This isolation leads to a phenomenon of opting out. A growing cohort of young men are withdrawing from the dating pool entirely, citing economic barriers and the mental toll of constant rejection. They are ghosting society. The patriarchy, often blamed for these dynamics, is in this context a misnomer. The intimacy marketplace functions as a matriarchy of selection where the female imperative dictates the flow of resources and attention. But the history of economics teaches us one undeniable lesson. When a monopoly price gouges its customers and ignores the demand of the mass market, it creates a massive incentive for disruption. The market is screaming for a substitute, and the substitute has arrived. Section 2, the disruption. How AI will break the market. Disruption rarely comes from within the established system. It comes from an external force that changes the fundamental physics of the industry. In the context of the intimacy marketplace, that force is artificial intelligence and robotics. AI is not merely a tool, it is a supply shock. In economics, a positive supply shock occurs when a technological innovation drastically reduces the cost of production, leading to an increase in supply and a decrease in price. AI does exactly this for the commodities of companionship, conversation, validation, and visual stimulation. The supply shock, the infinite supply of the perfect partner. The core vulnerability of the female intimacy monopoly is its scarcity. There are a finite number of women, and an even smaller number of high-value women, young, fit, agreeable, as defined by the male preference set. This scarcity drives the 666 inflation. AI removes scarcity from the equation completely. AI companions can be tailored to the exact specifications of the user, offering a level of customization that biological partners simply cannot match. Unlike a human partner who comes with their own baggage, demands, and independent agency, an AI partner is designed solely for the user's gratification. This creates a perfect partner paradox where the artificial becomes more desirable than the real because it is frictionless. The availability of the AI partner is absolute. An AI never has a headache. An AI is never too tired. An AI never judges the user for their income, their height, or their social anxiety. This creates a powerful value proposition for the market exiles discussed in Section 1. The market data confirms this disruption is underway. The global AI girlfriend market was valued at $2.8 billion in 2024 and is projected to explode to $9.5 billion by 2028. Adoption is rapid. 1 in 5 men on dating apps has already tried an AI girlfriend platform. 55% of users interact with their AI companion daily. Platforms like Character.ai are leading this charge, with over 97 million monthly visits. The psychologist bot on Character.ai has received over 95 million messages. This proves that the demand is not just for bed activities, but for listening and understanding, commodities that are increasingly expensive and rare in the human market. The AI listens without judgment, filling the emotional void left by the intimacy recession. The rise of the synthetic influencer, the case of Aitana Lopez. The first tremors of the crash are already being felt in the subscription economy. The digital rent seekers who monetized male loneliness are now facing competition from digital natives who can do it better, faster, and cheaper. Enter Aitana Lopez, a 25-year-old pink-haired model from Barcelona. She has over 300,000 followers on Instagram, earns up to 10,000 euros per month, and serves as a brand ambassador for major companies. But Aitana is not real. She is a construct of the Clueless agency, created using generative adversarial networks and Photoshop. As we speak, thousands of AI models for adult content are being created and start attracting customers. Some don't even notice the model is not real, and some don't even care. Soon the ratio of AI content creators will be vastly superior to real humans. And even more disturbing, today, if a woman becomes popular on these platforms and gets too many requests for private exchanges, they can't even fulfill the demand and therefore delegate the task to bots or cheap labor in other countries. Let me say that one more time, men are paying women for private intimacy, but they are answered by other men in third world countries, thinking they are talking to the women of their dreams. The technological roadmap, from Chatbot to Android. The disruption is currently in its infancy, phase 1, but the trajectory is exponential. Skeptics who argue that a chatbot cannot replace the warmth of a human body fail to account for the roadmap of technological convergence. We are moving rapidly through the phases of substitution. Phase 1. Emotional and textual intimacy. The her phase. This is the current era of replica and charactered AI. Large language models have mastered the Turing test of casual conversation. Users are already forming deep romantic bonds. In one study, a 66-year-old man claimed his AI app was and is pregnant with my babies, showcasing the depth of the emotional projection possible with even text-based interfaces. For the lonely male who has no close friends, 15% of the population, a text-based entity that remembers his birthday is a superior product to a human who ignores him. Phase 2. Visual and auditory realism. The deepfake phase. We are entering this phase now. Real-time voice generation allows for fluid, emotive verbal conversation that captures nuance and tone. Startups are integrating real-time avatars that can maintain eye contact and react to facial expressions during video calls. The uncanny valley is being crossed. Technologies like GNs are making avatars indistinguishable from reality in photos and increasingly in video. This phase threatens the cam girl and video call segments of the adult industry directly. Phase 3. Physical embodiment. The Westworld phase. This is the final nail in the coffin of the monopoly. Robotics. The players, Abyss Creations' Real Doll, is the pioneer here. For 20 years, they have manufactured hyper-realistic silicone dolls. Now, they are integrating AI via their Harmony system. This system allows users to customize the personality of the doll via an app, which then controls the robotic head's facial expressions and speech. The doll remembers conversations, creating a continuity of relationship. Haptic interfaces. For those who cannot afford a robot, advanced haptic technology, tactile suits, and connected devices offers a bridge. The market for intimacy tech is expected to reach $77 billion by 2030. Timeline. Experts predict that human-robot marriage could be commonplace by 2050, but the functional replacement of casual partners' robot will happen much sooner, likely within the next decade. The economics of substitution, a superior good. In economics, two goods are substitutes if a consumer is willing to replace one with the other as the price changes. Critics often argue that AI is an inferior good, like margarine to butter, and thus cannot truly threaten the demand for real women. This analogy is flawed. For the bottom 80% of men in the Tinder economy, the choice is not between AI girlfriend and supermodel wife. The choice is between AI girlfriend and nothing. Plus, the AI product is quickly becoming a must-have in certain ways that really matter to the user. 1. Consistency. An AI partner offers a stable emotional baseline. There are no mood swings, no shit tests, and no emotional volatility. 2. Compliance. The AI is programmed to prioritize the user's happiness and validation, offering a customer-centric relationship experience. 3. Risk profile. There is zero risk of STI transmission, false accusations, unwanted pregnancy, or financial ruin through divorce courts. When a substitute good becomes cheaper, safer, and more consistent than the original, the monopoly collapses. Why spend thousands on dates, endure constant rejection, and struggle to meet the 666 criteria when a customized, loving, hyper-realistic AI is waiting at home? Section 3. The wake-up call, the mutual opt-out. The initial assumption that AI is simply a tool for men to break the female monopoly misses a critical piece of the puzzle. The market crash will not be unilateral, it will be total. Women, too, are exhausted by the dating market, citing burnout, fear of violence, and emotional dissatisfaction. When the technology matures, they will not be sitting by the phone, waiting for men to return. They will be downloading their own perfect partners. We are not heading toward a male strike, but a great decoupling where both sexes exit the human marketplace simultaneously. The rise of the AI boyfriend. The narrative that AI companions are solely for lonely men is statistically false. Women are already adopting synthetic intimacy at staggering rates. Adoption rates. On platforms like Replica, approximately 30 to 40% of the user base is female. The emotional product. While men often seek visual and sexual compliance, women are flocking to AI for emotional labor. An AI boyfriend listens for hours without interrupting, offers endless validation, and remembers every detail of a conversation. It provides the romance novel experience, safe, attentive, and focused entirely on her needs, without the threat of physical danger or the disappointment of modern hookup culture. Safety. For many women, the human dating market carries physical risks. An AI partner is inherently safe. It cannot assault, stalk, or abuse. This safety premium makes the AI substitute incredibly attractive to women who have experienced trauma or fatigue in the human dating scene. This creates a symmetric exit. Men leave because they can't afford the price of admission. Women leave because the product, human men, is perceived as dangerous or emotionally inadequate. The result is not a transfer of power, but a dissolution of the market. The collapse of leverage. In the old monopoly model, women held leverage because men needed them for intimacy. In the new model, that need evaporates on both sides. No scarcity. If a woman can customize a 6-foot-tall, emotionally intelligent, handsome AI boyfriend who validates her 24/7, she has no incentive to settle for an average human man who struggles to communicate. No leverage. Conversely, if a man has an AI girlfriend who is visually perfect and sexually compliant, he has no incentive to jump through the 666 hoops to please a human woman. The bargaining table of relationships will become empty. There is no negotiation when both parties have a superior alternative at home. The 666 standards won't just be unsustainable, they will be irrelevant because the men who don't meet them, and the men who do, will no longer be buying what is being sold. The market clears at zero. Conclusion: the final liberation, industrializing reproduction. The most common counterargument to this future is the biological imperative, the need to reproduce. Critics argue that even if AI replaces intimacy, it cannot replace the womb. Therefore, the monopoly will persist because men need women to have children. This argument is short-sighted. It fails to account for the final phase of this technological revolution: ectogenesis, artificial wombs. Just as AI is decoupling intimacy from humans, biotechnology is decoupling reproduction from the human body. The technology, research into artificial wombs, is advancing rapidly. The biobag system has already successfully gestated premature lambs for weeks, and human trials for artificial placentas are on the horizon to save premature babies. The solution: the birth rate collapse feared by demographers will be solved not by forcing men and women back together, but by industrializing birth. When a man can have a genetic child without a female partner using an egg donor and an artificial womb, and a woman can have a child without a male partner using sperm banks and an artificial womb, the final tether between the sexes is severed. The Great Equalizer is actually the Great Separation. We are witnessing the end of the biological coercion that held human society together for 200,000 years. For men, it is the end of the performance burden, the need to earn, conquer, and perform to access intimacy. For women, it is the end of the biological tax, the risks of pregnancy, childbirth, and the physical danger of bad partners. The intimacy monopoly isn't just ending, it is being rendered obsolete. We are moving into a future where human connection is a purely voluntary hobby, stripped of its biological and economic necessity. The monopoly is over not because one side won, but because everyone decided to stop playing the game. But the question is not if the disruption will happen. The question is, where will you stand when the dust settles? I want to hear your verdict in the comments. If you are part of the market exiles, if you could have a customized loving AI partner and a biological child via an artificial womb, removing the performance burden entirely, would you ever try to date a human again? Or is the juice no longer worth the squeeze? Is the end of friction actually a utopia? Or is the struggle of dealing with another human's ego the only thing that makes us grow? By automating intimacy, are we liberating ourselves, or are we just domesticating ourselves into extinction? Tell me your prediction below. And if you want to dive deeper into the ethics of ectogenesis, the 666 inflation, and the economics of the great decoupling, join the private discussion on the forum. The link is in the description. Don't forget to subscribe. The algorithm is watching. See you in the next one.